Welcome to the Women's Fitness and Health Revolution podcast. There is so much noise on the interweb these days about what women should and shouldn't be doing when it comes to their fitness and health. Not only is it all too often tied to shame and fixing our bodies, it can also be incredibly detrimental to our health and wellness overall. The Women's Fitness and Health Revolution podcast sorts through the BS and offers advice and actionable, tactile steps to support and build a better relationship to your amazing body through every stage of womanhood. It aims to break the cycle of keeping women in the dark about their extraordinary machines and revolutionize the way we move, eat, and live so that our daughters and our daughters' daughters look in the mirror and feel exactly what they are: fierce, beautiful, and capable of everything. The revolution starts here. Hello, and welcome to the Women's Fitness and Health Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Kinsey. Was that cool? Okay, I realized recently listening back on these podcasts that I am pretty hit or miss at ever saying my name, so I'm going to be workshopping some new stuff, and honestly, I think we're off to a pretty killer start. Anywho, today, super pumped. We are talking all about part 1 of how to use group fitness to support you through perimenopause and beyond. Because the last thing we need is 60 minutes of high stress, light weights, 3 to 6 times a week when our body is already going on a hormonal roller coaster and going straight up through it. I'll be honest, I originally wrote this one as just one big episode, and then I was setting up to record it and I was like, wow, this is going to be 85 hours long. So we're going to break this into 2 parts. Today, part 1, we're going to cover the 3 things you want to look for when you're trying to pick your group fitness class in order to support your perimenopausal transition. And honestly, for anyone who's looking to try to build muscle within a group fitness format. Part 2, we're going to talk about the 5 tips on how to actually control your group fitness classes enough to get your results, because it does take a little bit of tweaking and conscious choosing on your part to really get those gains. Before we dive in, I'm going to do just a quick life update, because shout out to my girl Audrey for asking. I love you, Audrey. Please come to Minnesota and stay here forever. Anyway, as of this week, I have officially recommitted to strength training, aka heavy lifting and lots of rest, about 3 times a week is my goal. Because 40s, they're in my near future, and I want to be just riddled with muscles when I get there. Is that just a really fun image? Maybe I should work on that word, riddled. Anywho, I'm currently rocking the Muscle Science for Women program. They are one of my favorite podcasts. They're brilliant. Check them out. Lots of really good information. I can program for myself, yes, but sometimes, especially when life is busy and there's other things, I just don't want to. I don't have the energy. So that honestly is a big reason that I got so into group fitness back in the days. But it was just time for me to add a little bit more weight in my life. So investing into this program was the right move for me right now. So far, I am on day 2 and she is feeling it. So I will keep you posted. And in case you want to just nerd out on my programming, because it is health and fitness after all, my current breakdown of workouts, or at least what I'm going to shoot for: Sunday, I'm going to do a strength training on my own. Monday will be a rest day. Tuesday, I'm going to hit Orange Theory. Wednesday is going to be strength training. Thursday is going to be a rest day. Friday is going to be strength training. Saturday is going to be Orange Theory. Why this schedule? Mostly because it works with my work schedule. I know from having heavy lifted plenty in the past that those days, especially as they're newer to my repertoire again, really zonk me out. So I want to make sure that I am taking time to recover and I don't have to go brain afterwards. Will I keep perfect adherence to this schedule? No. Will it derail me from doing it? No. I've been in this game a long time, long enough to remember that this is my long-term practice, and I already anticipate that there's going to be a day or 9 where I wake up and the last thing that will benefit me in life is a leg day. Or there are going to be plenty of weeks when I'm particularly busy and 3 workouts, combination of whatever fits, is more than enough. Because as always, I am in it for the long term. Have you heard this one before? Health and fitness are a lifelong journey. Put it on a t-shirt. Anywho, instead, what am I saying? Anyway, that's me. That's my big news. I'm really excited. I miss it. It's a big part of me. So, like I said, I'll keep you posted on how it's going and things that I'm learning jumping back in. Because even though I've done it a lot in the past, that doesn't mean that it doesn't feel brand spanking new after probably, honestly, about 6 months off. So, anywho, I was originally going to try to do twice a month with this podcast, and then I got so excited that we're doing it the next week. Don't hold me to this. My goal is still just 2 podcasts a month, but when I'm feeling like I've got time, I'm going to try to drop them as often as possible. As of right now, January is in full swing. We are either in double digits or about to approach them, which is crazy. But the cool thing is the gyms are popping, and I love it. This is one of my favorite times of year. I certainly hope you're one of the folks checking out the gym, but if you aren't yet, I got you. Here's the deal. It is not easy finding a gym to join, especially if you're new to fitness or newly back. There's just so many things going on, and there's all sorts of questions to consider. What are the intensities of the workout? Do they cater to beginner or even coach form? What's the primary benefit of the classes? What are you guys building towards? How often should you be doing classes? Will this particular class benefit me and my goals? Will I be judged and feel out of place? How do I not get injured? How the heck do I get the most out of my membership in perimenopause? I hear all these voices out there talking about lifting heavy weights, but it's been 8 years since I've even squatted. / what is a squat? Is cardio bad? Help me, right? There's just a ton going on here. So if I lived in a perfect world and I could wave a little magical wand and make this happen, the gold standard for every woman in perimenopause and postmenopause, and heck, let's just toss in premenopause too, all the ladies, would be the ability to work with a personal trainer on strength training with a focus on building and sustaining lean muscle mass through progressive overload 2 to 3 times a week, with ideally eventually 1 to 2 days of higher intensity workouts with an emphasis on power output. And you know what? While we're in this fantasy land of mine, let's go ahead and just toss in access to an incredible dietitian who helps create a food plan that revolves around high, well-sourced protein and fiber, tacking on morning and post-meal walks. Maybe a little daily yoga practice would also be swell. And just for good measure, you know what? Let's just go for it. How about some mental health support with an incredible therapist who gets it, and a community of women going through the exact same thing we are? Maybe, and this is nuts, even a physician trained specifically in peri and postmenopause to help guide us through with hormonal support. Well, wouldn't that just be magical? Yeah, it sure would. But alas, that's not really probably a thing for most of us, especially considering perimenopause can hit as early as 35, with a lot of us feeling the majority of its effects in our 40s and 50s. Sadly, that female utopia that I just stated is a challenge, if not borderline impossible by today's standards. But hopefully that changes. Because here's the deal. Many women in this stage of life aren't just out there doing it for themselves, right? They've got kiddos, maybe they've got ailing parents, they're working that full-time job, they're at like a pretty high point in their career for some of us, and just insert every other life thing here during this period of our lives that leaves very little energy and oftentimes very little finances to allocate to creating that perfect self-care regimen. And don't even get me started on what is and isn't covered by insurance for women's health, because we just don't have the time. The point is, honestly, thank goodness group fitness exists. Not only is there a slightly lower barrier to entrance in terms of cost, it also, when done right, creates this beautiful pocket community of like-minded individuals looking to take care of their health. AKA, we're looking at good motivational vibes and all of the benefits that come along with having a strong community. Fun side note on this: you've probably heard the hot topic of blue zones, which are areas where folks not only have a longer life expectancy, but they have good health all the way past their 100th birthday. And we spend a lot of time in social media and press space extrapolating diet and activity advice from these communities. And while there is no doubt that that plays a major role in our overall quality of life, one thing that is rarely mentioned, and I think it plays a significantly bigger part than anyone gives it credit for, is the fact that all of these blue zone communities place emphasis on the importance of community. They're not solo out there, right? They're working together. They're part of something greater. Honestly, it's no surprise to me that there's such a correlation between an uptick in chronic illness and metabolic disease and the isolation of society. Hello, growing up sedentary and locked in on screens. So the ability to find that in a group fitness class, especially as we age, and we've probably found ourselves even more isolated, if we're being honest, as we age. We've had kiddos, your whole life kind of zones in there. So it can feel lonely out there. We just moved to a new place. And honestly, we always joke like, how do you make adult friends? But it is not easy. I'll tell you what, I kind of feel like I'm dating again. And it is going some kind of way. We've made some awesome friends so far and we're really lucky. But you know where the majority of my friends have come from? My gym. My point is, that sense of community, especially with that healthy mindset, is worth the price of admission alone, in my book, in a lot of ways. That being said, the downside, I personally have yet to find a group fitness class that is designed specifically to provide our bodies with the most important aspects of training when it comes to what we need when we age. I'm talking putting on, keeping, and then continuing to build a muscle. And that doesn't mean they aren't out there. I've heard of a few different studios generally using the small group training format, but for now, they seem to be unicorns. The big thing is how we need to be training as we age would be honestly what benefits us at any stage of life, aka progressively overloading strength training, babies. But I don't want you to take that the wrong way. This does not necessarily mean that we should be avoiding group fitness at all costs, especially if it's what we have available. Any movement in our sedentary lives is a huge benefit, especially as a starting point. I mean, the first couple of years of exercise, you are going to see amazing results just by starting a program, right? It's going to do wonderful things. We're going to talk about newbie gains in a second, but it's incredible. And may I say it again, the community aspect alone is just priceless. But first, it's worth taking time to find a gym that actually helps us achieve our goals. So let's chat about how you can go even deeper and get the most out of a group fitness class to benefit yourself as you transition through the phases of pre, peri, and post-menopause. Remember, as we're doing this, that our emphasis heading into this and through these phases is on building and maintaining muscle mass and power. And just for funsies and also necessity, balance and flexibility are also hugely important. We'll talk a little bit more on how to sneak that in later on. So tip 1 of these 3 tips on how to find your group fitness class that actually supports your transition. You got to find a studio that has access to heavier weights. As I talk about all of the time, by the way, you're not going to start with those weights, but we want to make sure that you have somewhere to progress to. If you love bar, cycling, Pilates, amazing. Rock those puppies 1 to 2 times a week because they have amazing benefits for muscle, endurance, cardiovascular endurance, core, establishing mind-body connection. But unfortunately, especially after a long time, they won't build muscle. And a quick sidebar, I'm thinking I'm going to do an upcoming pod on what does and does not build muscle, because I was talking about this to my sister recently, and I was explaining to her that how after like 10 years of doing HIIT, I really need to start supplementing heavy as training in alongside of it to actually start building muscle again. And then I turned because she got quiet and I saw her face, quickly followed by, "What do you mean you're not building muscle? You're working out like 4 to 5 times a week." And I was like, dang, that's a good question. It is confusing because we're working hard. Doesn't that mean we're building muscle. I'm getting faster. I'm getting stronger. But unfortunately, not all training after a certain point actually leads to hypertrophy, which is the growth of muscle tissue. We can get faster and we can get stronger, but faster and stronger are actually neuromuscular responses. So they happen in our brain and nervous system, but they don't necessarily cause muscular adaptation. Again, after a certain point. Am I blowing your mind yet? Like I said, I get it. And honestly, even after studying it for years, if I hadn't experienced it in my own body firsthand, I would have scoffed a bit. But like I said, more on that another day. And if you are interested, let me know. I will definitely go ahead and do a pod on that because it is pretty crazy. I just wanted to throw that in so I could impart the importance of why we need to finesse our workouts within group fitness to actually build muscle, because you can be doing the most and not building. So you got to find a studio that has weights in it. By the time, in terms of the heaviness of weights, we're looking for weight sizes that by the time you've performed 8 to 12 reps of an exercise, you have reached the point of fatigue, aka you couldn't do more than 1, maybe 2 more reps. I cover this in another podcast. I will go ahead and link that in the show notes. I will say the nice thing about Orange Theory, and I might do, speaking of other podcasts, I might just do a whole separate episode on using Orange Theory to get the most bang for your perimenopause buck, since I work there and I know a lot of you have started listening. Thank you so much. I adore you. But the cool thing about Orange Theory is that they have weights that go up to 90 pounds. Again, ideally with a personal trainer, over time, you're moving even more weight than that. Yeah, you. But this is good for now. And you can sustain 90-pound weights for a very long time if we're moving smartly, especially given that, as always, exercise is a skill. And when we start at the beginning, aka body weight, focusing on nailing form, balance, and core strength, we're doing it right. So we don't just walk in and pick up those 90-pound weights. I always tell people on their first class, I'm a big fan of not touching a single weight until class 2 when you feel like your form's down. And honestly, if we're being real with ourselves, probably our form comes down a little bit later towards class 10. Sure, we can add some weight, but remember, there's no need to rush to the weight. We just want it there for when our bodies are ready. Because the other thing too, I said I'd talk about it, and here it is. Newbie gains are a seriously real thing. If you are new to fitness or newly back, it's normal to feel nervous, but also know that this is one of the most magical times to have a strength training practice. If you are training smart, you gain the most amount of muscle at one time you will ever gain in your first year of training, because your body isn't used to the stimulus of working out and it adapts super quickly. And just again, I love my sidebars. This does not mean we're getting bulky. Moving on. You can definitely keep building muscle after your newbie gains kick in, but as your body gets more used to training, the rate at which you gain muscle slows way down. And you have to continue to change up the way you're lifting, hello progressive overload, to continue stimulating your muscle enough to keep growing. Okie dokie. Next up, we got tip 2 in searching for our ideal group fitness class. We also, this one's a little short but sweet, want to make sure that our class is primarily weightlifting. The last gym that I fitness directed in Los Angeles had like 16 to 20 different styles of classes on the roster at all times. There was sculpt, there was Pilates, there were 4 different types of cycling, there was barbell, there was HIIT, there was circuit training. With all these different styles of workouts, how the heck do we know which one we're even going to drop into? And when you're going around checking out other studios, what should we be looking for? We should be looking for a studio that focuses on weightlifting. Some cardio is fine, of course, but even 50-50, so 50% strength, 50% cardio, starts to push it if we're not doing it in a strategic manner. And we'll actually chat a little bit more about that in part 2. But that's just all I'm going to say for that. You are looking for a gym that focuses on lifting weights. And then finally, tip 3, the big level up. And honestly, I think this is kind of a make or break. Find a gym with highly certified trainers. There is a big difference in training certification, just like there's a difference between RDs and nutritionists. There's a big difference in training certifications. A base level, NASM, that's the National Academy of Sports Medicine, which I'm accredited by, that certified personal training certificate can take anywhere from 4 way too intense to 12 very reasonably paced weeks, where any run-of-the-mill group fitness certification can be obtained in under an hour. And that's not an exaggeration, because that is what baby Kinsey had before I knew much about training many years ago. And for the record, the test that I took, I definitely Googled the answers to. And there I was, certified. So been there, done that, and wow, there is a difference. I will be the first to admit I was a very happy trainer, but I was learning on the fly. I made a lot of mistakes. The other big thing about certifications like NASM and ACE, they require their trainers to stay up to date on continuing education every 2 years. So they're constantly learning and getting better at what they do. Also, to me, that just means someone is committed to what they're doing if they're choosing a path where they have to continually educate themselves. If you're not training with someone who's constantly learning, there's someone else out there. The benefit of a better certification translates to coaches who know why you're moving the way you're moving, / why we're performing the exercises we're performing, especially if they're the ones designing the workout. And this is paramount to moving well for the rest of our lives, they can correct your form and teach you how to move. So correcting form and teaching you how to move. Remember how we talk about exercise being a skill? Yes, gold standard would be personal trainer because it's all eyes on you. But boy, oh boy, getting into a studio with a coach who pays attention to your form, that's a big leg up, my friends. There's a difference between going and adjusting your squat so that you don't hurt your knees and low back and just coaching you to go harder without any attention to proper movement mechanics. Because remember, if we aren't moving well, we're training our body literally over and over again how to move incorrectly, and everything we do, it's inefficient, and over time it becomes dangerous. One step even further than this would be small group training, which honestly, if I were to open another gym, this would be my focus. It's not quite personal training, but with the right trainer, your workouts are just as personalized. Think 3 to 5 students in a group with individualized options to meet them where they're at and allow for choices that are specific towards their unique goals and body. Plus, hella focus on form, moving well, and pushing yourself safely to the places you want to progress to. It's really cool because, like, say, Marcus and I did a class with my parents. Marcus and I could be put on barbell, and my folks could be trained on balance endurance, learning how to squat better, starting to build up the muscles in their quads. So we would be doing similarly built exercises, similarly targeted days, except the ways that we would be approaching it would be tailored to where we were at in our own journey. And it's pretty phenomenal. It is a little more expensive than group, like bigger group fitness, but honestly, not that much these days. And it is way less expensive than personal training. But for today's purposes, let's just really think about what we're doing when we're looking for more of those like traditional big group fitness classes. So the Orange Theories, the Berries, the F45s, or the group fitness classes within a big box set or gym setting that like the Lifetime, the LA Fitness, the Equinox. So again, we're looking for certified trainers leading a primarily weightlifting style of class that has access to heavy weights. Luckily, that covers quite a bit of studios. It, I would say, gets dodgiest and hardest to do in those big box studios. So the Lifetime, the Equinox, the LA Fitness, the Y. I know they can be really enticing because their price points overall might be a little bit lower. Maybe not Lifetime and Equinox, but remember we talked about it's kind of hard to even like suss out which class is going to be right. But a lot of times within those studios, because it's just part of a larger gym, the weights that they have accessible within the group format tend to like peter out towards those 35 pounds. So you cap real fast. The other thing too is I would just be mindful about how they handle newbies in form. So what I mean by that is let me roll the tape back. Explore. Shop around. You don't have to commit to the first studio you go to. Everyone is really salesy. That's okay. They're doing their job. It's amazing. They want you to lock in a membership because they want what's best for you. But you should try some things out before you lock it in. Remember, the goal isn't to feel dead after class. It isn't to feel like you're going to vomit. It's to check out those 3 things we talked about. Finding a studio with heavy weights, finding a class that's primarily weightlifting, and making sure that those trainers are incredibly certified. Again, it's going to be a little bit different at each studio. Things will move a little faster in some places. I didn't write this down, but since I broke it into part 1, I'm just going to give you my hot takes. And maybe this makes me a little divisive, but here we go. So personally, if we're looking within the group fitness format, yes, I work at an Orange Theory, but I'm a little bit partial towards them for a lot of reasons, which is why I joined as a member. I like the way that they pace their class. I like that you circuit weights on the floor. I like that they offer a class that's called Strength 50, where it's 50 minutes of just weight training. F45 is really fun if you like fast-paced things. My biggest sort of holdups, especially when someone is new, it's sort of too close to CrossFit in my mind, where you're moving really quickly. You're maybe using heavier weights, but you're not banging out enough reps to really get the strength adaptation. You're going more for the muscle adaptation. You might be building a little bit of strength and you might be building power, but you're missing that muscular adaptation over time. The other thing too is that I'm just going to pat myself on the back. I move pretty darn well. And that gym was the first gym that I like injured myself at. So maybe that's sort of my it was just like a class full of power hinging, which is just, especially if you are new to hinging, like just a recipe for disaster. Barry's kind of like Orange Theory. I like that you can double floor, but again, Orange Theory to me, the programming design is just a lot smarter. They have a really good head of programming. So yeah, like I said, a little bit partial, but that is my take having done both of them. I also like Orange Theory. I found that Orange Theory community, again, I just did Barry's in LA. The community was much more inviting when I went to Orange Theory. And that, again, for me is a huge, huge thing. If you're into senior gyms, check it out. Maybe it's a cool place to go. But I've also found that when I go to Orange Theory, I get coached more than when I was at my Barry's classes. F45 we talked about. Let's see. Base Camp. Worked there for a long time. Think it is delightful. Again, the community at Base Camp was always really awesome. My hot take on that is that it is a fast workout, so you're only doing about 30 minutes of actual working out, and 15 of those minutes are on an air assault bike. And if you've never been on an air assault bike, those things are devilish, which means, and I've seen this in real time, that the majority of the time people get on those air assault bikes, they either go way too hard and burn out, or they just will coast on the air assault bike. So you're really only doing 15 minutes of lifting, and generally you're only doing 1, maybe 2 sets of each movement. So it's not really enough, again, to create that adaptation. Again, love the community. The base camp I worked at was delightful. RIP, WeHo. But those are just my hot takes on some of the bigger ones in terms of like the brand names. So like I said, kind of off the cuff. So if some of that didn't make sense, bear with me. And again, if you love one of those formats and it gets you to move your body, that is amazing. I'm not shaming any of it. I've literally done all of these myself. I've paid for all of them myself. I love that world and that modality. Like I said, it's a big part of my training along with my strength training. That was just my sort of like 4 cents when it comes to exploring these new places. Other than that, my friends, like I said, this was just part 1. Next time we're going to talk about how to optimize, wow, Kinsey's words, how we're going to optimize your group fitness classes once you choose it for your perimenopausal needs. So we're going to talk about 5 things that you have control over within your class setting that can really level up your unique practice and make sure that you're building that muscle and recovering well. All right, team, there we have it. Thank you so much, as always, for listening. It means the absolute world that you take time out of your day to chill with me. If you have any questions or you would like to suggest a podcast topic, I got rid of my business email because let's be real, I am not great at checking multiple emails. So a good one to reach me at is kinsey.dement@gmail.com. You can also catch me at Instagram at kinsey.does.the.fitness, or come visit me at Orange Theory. I coach on Wednesday mornings. Oh my goodness, that'd be crazy. All right, team. Thank you so much to all of you who have listened, for leaving reviews. That's how this podcast touches lives and ears. I can't wait till next time. Take care of your lovely, wonderful selves. You and your bodies are so stinking worth it. See you later, laters. Wow. We got through it, y'all. Ta-ta.